Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Fika Brunch and Business podcast once again.
I am your host. That was very courteous of you.
I'm a gentleman, as ever.
I'm your host, Tia.
And I'm the co-host, Evo. And today we're at a very dark Woolfox. It feels like it was not too long ago that it was light outside at this time, but now it's not even that late. 6:30. Wow.
I know, that's quite depressing,
dark.
isn't it? But there is something, I will say, there's something quite nice and cozy about being in here at this time. It feels, like there's a little log burner here. It's not on, but it is there.
Yeah.
And we're both just sat here I'm having a mint tea, you're having a soft drink. And it just, like we've spent the whole day here working and now it feels like we're unwinding. You know, in the scenes of Suits where they have like a scotch at the end of the day in one of their offices. This is what this feels
Apart
like.
from you're having a tea and I'm having a punchy soft drink.
I would like to say I did offer Eva an alcoholic beverage, but he refused because, as you've heard on previous podcasts, he is just miserable now.
No, I'm teetotal, guys. I'm taking care of my health.
He's not.
And I'm just not drinking at all. At the
To be fair, I am also trying to be that way inclined now. So
sometimes I just don't feel it.
Why are you teetotal? Tell us.
I'm not teetotal.
But why are you are definitely, you don't drink a lot.
No.
Why? Is that for...
I only save it for special occasions. And I don't know. You just feel like when you drink, you're automatically a little bit more ill the next day. So if I drink without a purpose, it feels like I'm voluntarily making myself more ill the next day, which just feels a bit pointless to me. So I like there to be a big occasion, and then I just go hard or go home.
I like it. Yeah, very good. So let's tell the fans what we have in store for them today. We don't really know what we've got in store for you, but
we'll see what happens.
And we thought it's been a while since we've just sat down, A, together, and B, like just had a chat and a catch up and almost like a conversation between us, because we talk every day, whether you're here or not, but we don't really sit and have a talk about everything that's going on. We kind of just talk about stuff that's going on. No, we sit and we talk about like immediate things, like tasks that we need to do and things like that, but we won't sit and have a chat and be like,
yeah, that's right,
how are you feeling? So Evo, how are you? I was actually going to ask you this. I'm going to make a conscious effort to start asking people like, how are you? But more as like, how are you? Not like...
No. Do you know how to phrase it?
Go on.
I heard this. I can't remember who was telling me this, but they ask, instead of just asking how are you, they ask how are you really.
But that just feels
it feels quite intense, doesn't it?
Also, if you are actually fine, you'll be like, I don't know, am I fine?
Well, now that you mentioned it,
I was having a good day, but now I'm not sure. But no, like, because sometimes, how are you? And everyone just goes, yeah, good. How are you? And then like, but how are you really? So tell us, how are you really, Evo?
Yeah, I'm all right.
No, go on, elaborate.
No, I'm good. I'm hard at work on matters related to Junie.
Yeah.
I don't want to say too much about that yet. Hopefully we could talk about it very openly on a future podcast, which I would really like to do. But at the moment, it's all kind of happening and coming to a head. And before it's fully done that, I don't want to preempt or jinx anything. But yeah, hard.
And what is Junie? Sorry, for anyone who didn't tune into that podcast.
Junie is our new London brunch brand. We're going to take London by storm.
Yeah.
Here's me not preempting anything. We're going to take London by storm. We're going to make a name for ourselves there. And we're going to become a London brunch institution. But I don't want to preempt too much. Just those few bits. So how am I? I'm good. I'm anxious, but in a good way.
Yeah.
I'm not anxious in like I have anxiety, I'm crippled by it type of way. I'm more anxious in like eager to go, eager to get started.
Yeah.
I've had a long period of trying to plant seeds and trying to make something happen. And I'm excited for that period to be over. I'm now excited to actually have the thing and then try and get it off the ground, which hopefully will be very soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, a mix of nervousness, excitement, and mix of nervousness and excitement. I think that's a good way to summarize it.
Yeah.
That's how I'm feeling.
Yeah, very good.
How are you? How are you really?
Well, I was fine.
How do you do?
Do you know what the response to that is?
How do you do?
I am really good. Really good. I am good.
Really?
No, I am really good. I am. I feel like I'm refinding myself.
Refining yourself?
Well, I did my...
refinancing yourself.
Anyway. I wish I was refinancing myself and my life and all my bank accounts.
Soon.
All need some big refinancing. No, I am... I feel like I'm finding myself again. I did my episode on coming out of a creative rut, and I think that was a big thing for me, because I guess in like Fika and in everything we do work-wise together, that's basically a huge part of my role. So feeling like I was stuck in that and wasn't contributing my best to that. I didn't feel like I was at my best. Whereas now I think I'm kind of learning and rediscovering the things that make me be better and make my creativity better and give me a bit more flow. And I do think a lot of it is, I would say we now have, well, we'll go into this a bit more. I'll actually answer the question first. Yeah, so I'm good. I'm good. I feel quite focused. I feel like and this is actually only really the last couple of days. Do you know what? Controversial. Someone who owns a brunch cafes. I've cut out caffeine.
Really?
I told you this. I'm on day 4, I think.
Talk the fans through it.
I'm
sure they want to know.
Look, I have always been the person to say caffeine really doesn't affect me. I don't get jittery from it. I don't get sleepless from it or anything like that. And I still stand by that. But I was really struggling with, I actually think it's what people call brain fog. But I just didn't, at the time I was like, I don't know if this is brain fog or just like, I don't know, like just tiredness and whatever. But yeah, I think it was brain fog, like for most of the afternoon, pretty much every day, I would have severe brain fog and just not really be able to focus. And then I was noticing, like, if I did quite an intense workout in the morning, for the rest of the day, I'm like a write-off. Like, I literally can't concentrate. I can't think of anything. So, and I think part of it was because I was having a coffee before, like, eating anything. And then also, like, having a coffee and having only that as, like, for the whole morning. And then, like I said, if I was doing an intense workout or, like, anything else, anything, like, mentally stimulating, like, that's not really enough to... And then I'd end up being hungry like by the end of the day. Yeah. And then I'd have something like sugary at 3 or 4 o'clock, which does not help at all. Like, it helps for 20 minutes and then you feel even worse. Yeah. So I just thought, I'm going to try everything. I'm going to go back to the basics with my like caffeine intake and my like nutrition and like sleeping enough and everything like that, and actually try and get all of that, all the basics right, because I do think all of that really contributes to how I perform day to day. Yeah. And I found for the last like 4 days, and I think it's probably not just the cutting out caffeine, but I've also not really cut out caffeine because I'm still having matcha. It's just like coffee. Okay. Is matcha, I don't actually know this, is matcha's a lower level of caffeine? Yeah, it's still got caffeine in it, but it's lower and it's supposed to be much slower release, so you don't get like a big caffeine hit or like energy hit. But yeah, I've tried to nail down on all those basic things, and yeah, had no brain fog whatsoever over the last few days, and I also was getting quite a lot of headaches, and I've never really suffered from headaches. Like, I'd get a headache pretty much every day. Yeah. Not really had a headache over the last few days again. So yeah, I'm feeling good, and I think everything that's going on in our professional lives currently is what forced me to like make some changes.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I know we're about to get very busy. I know our schedules are about to be pretty full on. Like they are anytime we take on a new project.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also we're both still training for High Rocks.
I've completely forgotten about that.
Yeah, we're both still training for High Rocks. And to be honest, I kind of have, I've not forgotten about it. I'm just choosing to ignore it.
I need to take that more seriously. That's in like 5 weeks.
I
That's
know.
mad.
I know.
Mad.
Someone said it the other day. I was like, oh God.
I'm always like, I've got like 3 months for that. And then, but that
It's
eventually
soon.
decreases, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
It's not always 3 months.
That does decrease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine.
So, and that is quite an intense style of training and level of training. Like that requires serious dedication.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, realistically, with what our schedules are about to look like, I'm probably going to have to be in the gym at like 6 a.m. most days if I'm going to fit in a training session.
Yeah.
So to do that, like we need to sleep enough and we need to get enough rest. But there's also a lot of work to do. So you just have to make sure like all the basic areas of your life are sorted, covered. Like they just come as second nature kind of thing. So yeah, I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling good. We've had a productive few days. I'm feeling creative. I'm feeling excited, very excited. I'm feeling quite fearful. But I think I'm much more inclined to that than you are. And I think you have a little bit of that as well.
Of fear?
Yeah.
I have massive amounts of fear.
Yeah. I think it's like with anything new, it's always going to be a bit scary and the unknown. And this is like the most unknown. Like London is a whole new.
There's so many question marks.
Yeah.
In London, I think the last one we opened, which was Woolfox. I mean, we knew from the start how that was going to go. We knew what the opening day was going to look like. We had all these question marks that we have in London. We never really had here, so it felt like quite light work to get this off the ground.
Yes and no, but this was, I think what made it feel like that was because this was a lot closer to home. So
That's right. Yeah.
It was, we knew everyone who were coming. We knew all our staff beforehand. We knew like our head chef from Oakham came here. So it was almost kind of like we were using a formula that we'd already done and just doing it again. And we had
reliable pillars of that formula in the form of staff, chefs, like all those things were sorted out.
And we know this area. We know the customers of this area. We know what people like. People know us. People know Fika as the brand name. So it was a big unknown, but at the same time, it was like not that much of an unknown. And because we knew the people at Woolfox and everything like that, it was, we knew what we were stepping into to an extent. Whereas London, it is like we are stepping into the unknown. And I know you've been there for the last few months. And how do you think that has, like, how do you think your view of it maybe differs to mine from you being there? Do you think it's helped you being there?
It has helped me being there. It hasn't helped me being there and not having anything to do. I feel significantly better when I'm back here compared to when I am in London. When I'm here, this is not necessarily answering the question.
It's a good thing you're opening something in London then, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But yeah, there's not really answering your question directly, but I just want to give a bit of background. Being in London at the moment for me is sitting at home and like maybe working on my laptop, not really interacting with that many people. It's not great. It's not a fantastic environment to be in terms of like stimulating creativity, growth, whatever. Here, when I come back here, I see our staff, I see our cafes, I see the food coming out, I interact more with people. It just feel like, and then I feel creative, I feel productive, and generally work better, sleep better. My routine is better when I'm around here. I think it will help massively once we've kind of got a routine in London and they've got something to show for it there. But I've had a long period of not having that. And so being to answer your question, being in London, having been in London doesn't really make me less fearful because I feel like I know it better. I still feel like I don't know it well at all because I've not really had the same interactions that I've had here. So that still feels like a big unknown there, but it feels, I feel good about the fact that soon we'll be up and running, and I'll just feel, once it's up and running, I think I'll feel better being in London. But at the moment, it still feels like an unknown, probably similar to how it feels to you.
So do you feel any more prepared for having been in London the last few months, or no?
I wouldn't say so, no.
Great, that was good.
I feel like being in London has helped me plant those seeds, as I mentioned before. I don't think...
It would have been difficult to do if you weren't there, and difficult to find the right people and get the right contacts.
You go on viewings and like being there does help with that part.
Yeah.
But in terms of like knowing it better, I'm not sure how much I know anymore. Maybe I do. Maybe I subconsciously, through osmosis, through going to different brunch cafes, absorbed a lot. Yeah, that's probably I probably have done from that part.
And how do you envision your life changing over the next few months? Like, because I would say already, like I said to you the other day, you literally look like you've just taken something because you went all hyper and you were like, we need to do this now. I was like, calm down. This is not going to happen for tomorrow morning. It's okay. But I feel like automatically as soon as there's like a level of, I actually think we're both like this. As soon as there's a level of urgency and a level of like, shit, we have to get this done now. Like we have to move on this quickly. We have a deadline, or not even like a set deadline, but we have an aim in mind. Mm-hmm. We both kind of kick into gear. I think we're actually both really terrible at just assigning ourselves work to do.
No, awful.
Like terrible.
I need severe fear and anxiety to be able to do anything.
Yeah. And I'm much better. Like I've done a few shifts in the cafe recently. And obviously, do my once a week kitchen shift. But on those days, I feel so much more productive. Like so much more productive. Even like outside of the cafe work. Mm-hmm. I then will get home and be like, okay, I'll just do a bit of this, and I'll just do a bit of this, and I'll just do a bit of this. And then I'm like, oh, it's 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Like, I can call it a day now. And I think it's because I have that like constant stimulation and I'm like on my feet. I think we're both doers, like sitting at a desk on our laptop. It's different now because we're doing it for something.
Yeah.
And there's like, it's all working towards something where we're not going to be doing that. But if that was
that's all you have to do.
When that's all you have to do, that's really tricky. And I guess that poses the question, like, what do our future roles look like?
Yeah.
Because I think we're very good at growing a brand and like growing businesses, but from within, I actually don't think we're that good at doing it. Oh, this is an interesting point. I don't think we're that good at doing it when the pressure's off. Discuss.
Yeah, we're not. I don't think I could. But what do you mean when the pressure's off? When would you be growing a brand when the pressure's off?
Say what happens with Fika now, because the pressure's not really off.
Yeah.
But the day-to-day pressure isn't really there. Of like, the day-to-day pressure comes back when it's like, oh, this person's ill and this person's ill and this person's ill and this chef's gone home and this person's fallen off their bike and
no one in particular.
Like that's when the pressure comes in.
Yeah.
But on a day-to-day operating basis, there isn't that pressure. I guess there is because you're like, the financials have to work. But do you know what I mean? That's a different kind of pressure.
It is.
That's kind of like that's almost like a dark cloud that's always there. They just learn to live with.
Painting a positive light.
Well, no, it's the reality. Like, it's just, but you do just learn to live, like you learn to accept that it's always there.
Yeah.
But if you're in the sunny territory, you don't really worry about that too much.
Yeah. Let me pose a vision for what our roles could look like.
Go on.
I think day-to-day operating, yes, there's pressure. But there is also pressure in new projects. And I think that's why we enjoy new projects so much, because there's uncertainty, there's problem solving, think about when we built Fika Stanford. There was a lot of things we needed to figure out there.
Yeah.
There was a few setbacks we had there. And that is also in itself a level of pressure. So I think we constantly need, and I think we're getting to a stage where we can almost have this a little bit, where we constantly need an influx of new projects to take on as part of our current brand and in future brands.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the pressure comes from.
Yeah.
New projects. I think where that was difficult, let's say if you only have one cafe, you have to wait until that cafe makes enough money to be able to do anything else. Whereas when the more you have, the more projects you can afford to take on, is what I'm trying to say. We're slowly getting to that point where probably all we can think, not all we can think about, but a
big part of our focus
could be new projects.
Yeah.
I think that's where it would come from for me.
Okay. And you touched on something there, which I do want to talk about a little bit. I know we said we're not going to delve into too much detail because it's a bit early days, but let's talk a little bit about our frustrations over the last few months. And let's talk, I do want to touch on this a bit because I think almost from a point of view of, I think sometimes people probably come into the cafe and they see it and it's really busy and they go, God, these guys must be raking it in. And the reality is quite different of like running a cafe. And anyone in the food business will say this, that no one ever got rich from running a cafe or a bakery or a restaurant because the margins are so small compared to most other industries. And the work is so hard and the costs are so high. And you can see why some people like think it's the dream, do it for a year, and they're like, absolutely not, I never want to do this again. Yeah. So, let's talk about some of our big Go on.
I just wanted to say on that point, I had a friend who was in the hospitality business. He had a pizza restaurant. If he listens to this, he might know who he is. But he used to say to me, I always used to find it fascinating because he started his brand at quite a young age, and it was really successful and it was growing really well. And I used to find that fascinating. I used to say to him, like, it's so cool that you've got this brand and you're doing so well and all of this. And he used to say to me, like, don't get confused about what it looks like. If something goes wrong, I'll be out of business in 3 months. I'm like, 3 months? What is he on about? Like, he must be raking it in.
And now we know the reality. And that is where the pressure comes from. That is like when you start to feel the pinch in areas and when things go a bit quiet for a couple of weeks in a row, we start to look at it and go, okay, do we need to step in? Do we need to do something? Do we need to change something?
It's always distinguishing between, is this a trend or is this just an off week?
Yeah. And there's the constant that you constantly are checking. Yeah. And like almost ready to react to whatever. And it's like deciphering what needs reacting to and what doesn't. So cafe business, guys. Let us tell you. Hear it from us. Yeah. We're not on a yacht yet. Put it that way. We've not even got a rubber dinghy yet. So let's talk about some of our frustrations. Yeah, go on. Well, this one's kind of more your domain. And I think we've touched on it in a podcast before, but finance and financing. Yeah. And I mean, it's just the current financial situation of this country and many other countries is not wonderful. And that impacts us quite directly. Yeah. And I think our frustration has come from being like, again, I think we've touched on this before, but we almost got sold this promise of like, oh, just go until you hit X amount in revenue, and then everyone will be like rushing to give you money. Yeah. And then we hit X amount. To
be fair, no one sold us that promise. I think we sold it to ourselves.
No, someone did say that to us. Yeah.
Who said that? Call him out. No, don't call him out.
I'm not going to
Didn't I say that to you?
No. I remember the person. I'll tell you after.
Okay.
Right.
And then I'll leak the information.
It was someone who actually like knew what they were talking about, or at least that's how it came across. Yeah, and then we hit that amount of revenue, and we were like, okay, where are they?
Where's the money?
And then we seeked them out, and we were like, okay, why are they all saying no?
And they were like, no, sorry, you can't have anything.
And it was also about the number of years we were trading, because I remember when we first opened up, when we first took Fika on, in the first year, doing anything was a nightmare. Do you remember?
Even like setting an account up.
Setting up a bank account. Oh yeah, like accounts with suppliers.
Like birth certificate, proof of address, proof of it's
because outrageous. we hadn't been trading for 3 years. So then there was a promise of like, when you've been trading for 3 years plus, everything gets easier.
Yeah. First of all, it was like 6 months until you can set an account up with anyone.
And until then, you have to do cash on delivery. What? Here's an envelope with cash. £600 veg factor order. Don't put it in your pocket, Mr. Delivery Man driver. Do you know what I mean? Like how medieval.
I know.
Yeah.
And then 3 years is like the next time frame.
Yeah.
And we reached 3 years quite recently, and I was like, right.
Ready
for some financing. My phone's here. I'm getting a call from Barclays. I'm getting a call from Lloyds.
He's got his running shoes on. He's ready for his run to the bank.
But yes, it's difficult.
It's not quite played out like that.
No, it would have been easier if we didn't. It would have been so much easier if we didn't reinvest anything in growing the company. If we still had one cafe and didn't reinvest any of the money of that cafe, it would be easier to get financing based on that.
Okay, let's talk about that, because I don't think that gives anything away or preempts or not that we've done any of that.
No.
But I think let's talk about that, because like that is just, and I know that banks work the way they do for a reason, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But there is just some dumb stuff that comes out that you're like, oh my goodness.
I'd be on the phone, like, and someone would say something, I'd be like, oh, it's just not even worth having this discussion anymore.
So what was the big thing? Like, yeah, if we'd kept all the money in the business and just not reinvested in anything, not opened another cafe or another cafe that, you know, were all successful and doing well, that would be better than choosing to take the profit and reinvest it.
Yeah. And
growing the business and having something to show for the growth of the business. Not like, oh, we chose to take the profit and put it in this and it flopped. I was trying to think flopped. Fluked. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, where do I start? Also, some finance professional is going to be listening to this thinking, these guys are idiots. Like, of course they're not going to get money. And fair enough. Okay, we don't understand how this thing works. We tried, we failed. It's not. We're going to try again at some point in future. But, yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of business plans and financial projections and all of this kind of stuff to some banks in future. I do think the bigger a business becomes, the more you do need to have some form of credit, because if you've got a small business, something goes wrong, you just take a little bit from your savings, put it in, till everything goes well, then you take it back out. Or you want to invest in a new project, you just wait a little bit, you run the new project yourself. The bigger a business becomes, the more costly everything becomes, the more long term you start thinking as well. So instead of investing in this project that's going to take 3 months to get off the ground and you just do it yourself, the more you invest in bigger scale projects that are going to take like 3 or 4 years to materialize, that is what a good business should do. It should be thinking like 3-4 years down the line and making moves now, even though it might cost them money now. And I think that's where credit comes in. Anyway, so bottom line is, I think eventually, like, we do need to figure out the finance thing. But our big hurdle has been at this point is people look at Fika and they say, oh, wow, okay, like, you're clearly on a growth trajectory. And they say they take that into account, but they don't. You're on a growth trajectory, but your profit is the same as it was in the first year. And it's just having to explain to someone that it's difficult as a brick and mortar like cafe business. It's difficult to be on that level of growth trajectory that we've been and also make the same proportionate amount of profit. The money has to come from somewhere. So that's been
the money to grow.
The money to grow has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
It has to come from those
it's not
profits.
coming from the banks.
No.
That's for sure.
Exactly. So it's been difficult and frustrating trying to convince anyone that we've got something kind of worth backing here. I don't think we would have such a big problem if we decided to go the investor route.
No.
But
and I think the reality is just the economic climate currently that no banks want to lend anyone money. And I also think it's done on it's a very computer says no kind of thing rather than a person looking at the application going, okay, yeah, they've made this amount of profit, but look at what else they've done and what else they've put the money into. And actually, like, let's take a closer look. I think it is just a case of inputting stuff and it goes, and then you're done.
A lot of it is that. Yeah.
And I think our other thing that is perhaps I think is a strength, but has served as a weakness in this scenario, is that we don't really. I was talking to someone else about this, someone else who just makes moves and makes it work no matter what. And I do think that is I think that's the way that we've chosen to do business. And whether it's right or wrong, some people wait for the right time, the right economic climate, the right building to come up, the right rent, all of that, all the right circumstances. Whereas I think we're very like, if we have an idea, if we want to do something, we do it.
Yeah.
Whether it's the right economic climate, whether it's, if we get an opportunity, we seize it. And then we kind of worry about the details after.
If it's ballpark in the right direction, we're doing it.
If it's in line with like the vision of where we want to be. So, and I think with that, it has come that we've chosen to do something in the worst economic climate and in the worst kind of circumstances.
Yeah.
So it's just been like, we've just been batting away no's left, right and centre. And we're not the only ones, I'm sure. I'm sure that's been the case for many businesses. But we've just realised that being a business that wants to grow is not easy. Yeah. Like you have to literally be prepared to take every no under the sun and find a way, one way or other,
to do it anyway.
And it's been a roller coaster of emotions.
It has been, but we're continuing to find ways, and I'm sure we'll talk about those ways in future podcasts as well.
We will.
I look forward to talking about them.
Yeah, and we can be a bit more.
But for the minute, that's kind of all we can say really on the finance side. It has been a frustrating journey, but hopefully.
But also we've learned from it.
We've
learned a lot from it, and again, I keep shouting this person out, but someone on Fika Brunch and Business Instagram page, one of their quotes was great. Commented something, and they said, "If you're not earning, then you're learning," and I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. I'm living by it now. So
nice.
Shout out whoever you are. I don't have anything else to add. Do you want to talk about anything else?
No, I'm quite happy to leave it. I think it ended up being a good podcast, even though we didn't know what we were going into, and you didn't know what you were going into.
Sometimes it's quite nice to just sit and chat and ask,
"How are you really?" Look how much came out of that.
Yeah. I'm not sure either of us really answered that. No, I think we did.
Yeah. Nice. Well, thank you very much for joining us for this episode of the Fika Brunch and Business podcast, and we will see you all next time.
It's been a pleasure. See you all next week. Bye.